You assume that pain and desire stand opposed. Desire promises movement toward pleasure. Pain marks its interruption. Every act of wanting seems to carry this tension, the hope for satisfaction shadowed by the fear of loss. So you build a life around minimizing pain and maximizing desire's reward. But Shams Tabreez questioned this assumption. He said pain is not the opposite of desire, but its purifier. When desire loses truth, pain restores it. Desire seeks what it believes will complete it, and pain reveals where that belief was false. To him, pain was not punishment, but correction. The moment longing becomes sincere, you begin to wonder if every fulfilled desire eventually fades. Was it pleasure you were seeking, or something deeper hidden beneath every pursuit? In the 13th century, Shams Tabreez stood apart from conventional teachers. He spoke less about ritual and more about honesty. His words unsettled both scholars and mystics because he refused the idea that spirituality meant comfort. He said the seeker must face what wounds the false self, for only then can the real self appear. He described pain as the reflection of resistance, not divine cruelty, but divine instruction. In his gatherings, pain was reinterpreted as the measure of attachment. To follow his discipline meant to allow longing to mature, to transform from personal craving into awareness of truth. Desire begins as absence. You look outward and imagine completion in what you lack. You project meaning onto an object, a person, a goal. Once attained, the meaning dissolves and reappears elsewhere. The cycle repeats, yet the restlessness remains. Shams Tabreez called this repetition the illusion of direction. The self moves from one fulfillment to another, mistaking change of object for change of being. He said desire is not wrong. It is simply misdirected. When it serves the ego, it multiplies craving. When it turns toward truth, it dissolves craving itself. Desire, then, can be either a chain or a path. Its outcome depends not on what you want, but on who's doing the wanting. Which kind of desire governs you? Pain, in Shams Tabreez's view, is the moment when illusion becomes visible. You often treat it as an error, something life should have prevented. But he said pain reveals the exact point where the self's falsehood no longer works. You believe control brings peace. Pain shows otherwise. You believe possession brings security. Pain shows its fragility. You believe agreement brings love. Pain shows dependence beneath it. In this way, pain does not destroy truth. It destroys confusion. It is not a break in life, but a correction in perception. Each hurt becomes a teacher that exposes what cannot last. The question shifts. Instead of, why am I in pain? You begin to ask, what truth is this pain uncovering? The ego makes promises to itself. I will seek truth, but only if it comforts me. When that bargain fails, the ego calls it injustice. Shams Tabreez said this reaction keeps the false self alive. The pain that could awaken you becomes the story that defends you. You explain, justify, and blame, all in the name of balance. Yet every explanation postpones understanding. The ego survives through argument. Shams taught that honesty begins when justification ends. Pain becomes clear when you stop protecting yourself from it. What would remain if you no longer required truth to feel gentle? Could clarity itself be the peace you were seeking through comfort? Endurance, for Shams Tabreez, was not suppression but awareness sustained through discomfort. To endure was to remain conscious in the presence of contradiction until falsehood fell away on its own. When you resist pain, you preserve what causes it. When you stay with it, its authority weakens. Endurance transforms pain from punishment into instruction. This is why Shams called discipline a form of mercy. It trains perception to remain open while the old patterns dissolve. Impatience interrupts purification. Observation completes it. You begin to sense that strength is not measured by avoidance, but by clarity. What if endurance is not about surviving pain, but about letting it reveal what no longer needs to survive in you? Eventually, the repetition itself becomes unbearable. You see the same dissatisfaction appear in new forms. The pattern is no longer hidden. Shams Tabreez described this recognition as the threshold of transformation. The seeker does not destroy illusion. He outgrows it through understanding that the pain begins to shift. It no longer feels like an attack, but like a signal. The energy that once resisted truth now begins to support it. You realize pain was not blocking the path. It was showing it thought at this point. You stop asking when suffering will end and start asking what it was trying to reveal all along. Can you see that what hurt you was never the truth itself, but your misreading of it? When desire endures the cleansing of pain, it loses its demand for reward. It no longer says, "I must have this, but let me be aligned with what is real." Shams Tabreez called this the transformation of desire into love. Not love as emotion, but love as accurate recognition, the heart's agreement with reality. Such desire seeks nothing personal, yet it fulfills everything. It no longer oscillates between success and failure, for its object is truth itself. When desire becomes pure, it no longer asks to be satisfied. It asks to be honest. Could it be that every longing you have ever known was not for possession, but for the end of falsehood within it? Now the distinction between pain and desire begins to dissolve. You see that both belong to the same process. One exposes, the other aspires. Together, they refine perception until only truth remains. Shams Tabreez called this the awakening of the heart. The seeker no longer runs from pain or chases pleasure. He observes both as movements within awareness. Desire without distortion becomes devotion. Pain without resistance becomes clarity. You realize that life has never worked against you. It has only worked to correct you. When the urge to seek disappears, you stand in what you were seeking. If every longing has led to this stillness, was it longing at all, or remembrance? What remains when all desire is purified and all pain understood? Only awareness, unconditioned, steady, and quiet. The search ends not through exhaustion but through insight. Shams Tabreez's discipline was never about withdrawal. It was about purification through participation in life. Each experience was a lesson in discernment. Pain revealed what was false. Desire carried you toward what was real. Together they completed the work of awakening. Now there is no division to reconcile, no comfort to chase. The seeker and the sought were never separate. What is left to purify when every motion of longing was already the movement of truth refining itself through you?